safer world is possible, and together we can and will make it happen. Thank you.
When you show up in community, you find that group that makes you feel like home, but oftentimes you also find yourself again.
Well, it certainly hasn't been denied by Meghan's side, and that's something. So I think she probably has contacted her father or the hospital, or possibly her half-brother, more likely the hospital, to pass on her good wishes, I imagine, to her father, who does seem to be very ill indeed. He's been in poor health for a long time, but now in intensive care and having his leg reportedly amputated. This does seem to have provoked a change of heart from Meghan.
Do you think that with relationships softening between Meghan Markle and her father, that perhaps there could be some sort of softening between Harry and the King? It seemed as though Meghan Markle, at some points, it felt as though Meghan Markle was almost trying to keep her husband away from his family. Perhaps now she's getting closer to her father again, her husband will too.
Meghan Sussex, we must remember. She doesn't like being called Meghan Markle. And of course, she is still a duchess. She's not a former duchess. Whether this will have any impact on Harry and the King, no, I don't think so. But I think we should cut Meghan some slack here. I'm a bit tired of all the criticism of her. Families are complicated. We all know that. And the royal family is particularly complicated. She's put up with a lot from her father, you know, over the years. He has been selling his story to all sorts of outlets, giving media interviews, whether paid or not, when she has pleaded with him not to do so. She's also put up with a lot of verbal abuse from her half-brother and her half-sister, Thomas and Samantha. And she has chosen over recent years simply not to contact any of them. But I think she would have had to have a heart of stone not to, in the Americanese, reach out or try to contact her father in this health crisis. And she doesn't have a heart of stone, I don't think.
Welcome back, Squatties, and thank you for joining me once again on SUSSEXFUL. If you're returning, you already know how we do things here. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. This is the place where we cut through the noise, question the narratives, and talk honestly about everything surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle without the sugarcoating. On SUSSEXFUL today, we're diving into yet another round of headlines, commentary, and so-called exclusive sources connected to the Sussexes. As usual, the media has been busy spinning stories, recycling talking points, and framing certain events in a way that conveniently avoids asking the harder questions. And that's exactly what we're here to challenge. There's been a noticeable pattern lately. The same claims popping up again, the same themes being pushed, and the same selective outrage depending on who benefits from the narrative. All right, so we're going to slow everything down a bit, really take a look at what's actually being said versus, what's just being implied. And then we'll dig into why certain details are being highlighted while others just quietly disappear into the background. We'll also talk about timing, because honestly, timing matters, and how public perception is being managed through carefully placed articles, strategic silence, and, well, a constant stream of distraction pieces. None of this exists in a vacuum, and when you start connecting the dots, the bigger picture just becomes so much clearer. So, if you're tired of those surface-level takes, if you're tired of being told what to think instead of just being shown the facts, you're in the right place. Hey y'all, make sure you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. Settle in, Squatties, because today on SUSSEXFUL, we're breaking it all down, and as always, we're keeping it real. Royal commentator takes a stand. Jennie Bond champions Meghan and Harry. In a refreshing departure from the relentless media scrutiny, royal commentator Jennie Bond has emerged as a voice of reason, defending Meghan Markle and Prince Harry against the persistent tabloid attacks. Her nuanced perspective offers a much-needed counterpoint to the sensationalist narratives that have long plagued the Sussex couple, highlighting the unfair treatment they have endured and calling out the toxic media landscape that has sought to vilify them at every turn. Media maligns Meghan-Jennie bond exposes tabloid toxicity. The relentless assault on Meghan Markle by tabloids and so-called royal experts reached new depths of absurdity, with Jennie Bond courageously stepping forward to challenge the toxic narrative. Despite the media's desperate attempts to paint Meghan as a villain, Bond highlighted the unfair and malicious attacks that have systematically targeted the Duchess of Sussex. The tabloids' continued campaign of character assassination reveals more about their own desperation than any supposed wrongdoing by Meghan, who has consistently maintained grace under unprecedented public scrutiny. By speaking out, Bond exposed the cruel mechanism of media manipulation that has sought to destroy Meghan's reputation, bringing much-needed perspective to a narrative that has long been distorted by sensationalism and prejudice. The truth about Meghan is, she's really just a private citizen who's been misunderstood. Contrary to the relentless media narrative, Meghan Markle is fundamentally a private citizen who deserves the basic respect afforded to any individual. The persistent obsession of tabloids and royal commentators with her every move is not just inappropriate, but honestly, it borders on harassment. She's no longer a working royal, having stepped back from official duties, and therefore should be left to live her life without constant scrutiny. The media's energy would be far better spent focusing on active members of the royal family who continue to represent the institution, rather than perpetually dissecting the personal choices of someone who has explicitly chosen to step away from that role. The painful truth of family neglect really comes to light when you look at Thomas Markle's maternal abandonment. While Thomas Markle publicly criticized and maligned his daughter Meghan, few knew the painful irony of his own familial neglect, particularly toward his aging mother. In stark contrast to her father's callous disregard, Meghan demonstrated compassion from a young age, regularly accompanying her mother Doria to visit her paternal grandmother in the nursing home. During these visits, the young Meghan would help feed her grandmother and ensure her well-being, showing a level of familial care and empathy that her own father seemed, honestly, incapable of providing. This detail reveals a poignant narrative of generational responsibility and kindness, highlighting Meghan's inherent nurturing nature even as a child, while at the same time exposing Thomas Markle's profound failure as a son and father. The compassionate heart of Meghan Sussex really goes beyond the tabloid narratives we've all seen. Contrary to malicious tabloid claims about her having a heart of stone, Meghan is demonstrably a deeply compassionate and kind individual, whose genuine empathy extends far beyond superficial interactions. Her character is perhaps best understood through her actions, rather than the distorted narratives perpetuated by sensationalist media. Actions that reveal a woman of profound emotional depth and sincere concern for others, whether supporting humanitarian causes or showing tender care for her family and those around her. The unfounded criticism leveled against her reveals more about the critic's own limitations than any genuine insight into Meghan's true nature, with her consistently demonstrated kindness standing in stark contrast to the harsh, ungenerous judgments frequently cast her way. The British media's relationship with Meghan was transactional from the start, a cynical dance of access and exploitation that turned venomous the moment her marriage to Prince Harry closed their preferred narrative pathways. When it became clear that Meghan would not be a passive, malleable royal fixture they could manipulate at will, the tabloids' true colors emerged, calculating and ruthless. They had banked on unrestricted palace access, endless sensationalist stories, and, well, the ability to control her public image. but Meghan's independence and self-determination shattered those expectations. Suddenly, she was no longer a lucrative meal ticket, but a threat to be dismantled, and the media's machinery shifted into full attack mode, spinning narratives designed to discredit and diminish her at every turn. The media's fixation on Thomas Markle represents a bizarre spectacle of journalistic overreach, particularly given that he is not and has never been a member of the British royal family. Despite this fundamental fact, tabloids and news outlets seem pathologically obsessed with presenting him as a central character in Meghan's narrative, manufacturing controversy where none should legitimately exist. His status as an outsider to the royal institution has not deterred relentless coverage, with publications seemingly more interested in sensationalism than substantive reporting about the actual dynamics of the royal family. King Charles has demonstrated a shocking level of vindictiveness towards Prince Harry, stripping him of his military honors in what can only be described as a deeply personal and punitive act. Despite Harry's years of dedicated military service, including multiple tours in Afghanistan, the monarch has systematically dismantled his son's proud military legacy. This cruel treatment has been largely ignored by mainstream media, who seem more interested in perpetuating sensationalist narratives than exposing the true depth of familial dysfunction within the royal household. By removing Harry's military titles and preventing him from wearing his uniform, Charles has not only dishonored his son's service, but also revealed a stunning disregard for the very institutions the royal family claims to hold sacred. In the landscape of royal reporting, Jennie Bond emerges as a beacon of integrity, courageously standing against the tide of media bias that has long plagued Meghan Markle's public narrative. Bond's principled stance represents more than just journalistic objectivity. It is a powerful statement against the systematic denigration of a woman who has been repeatedly mischaracterized by sensationalist reporting. By speaking up and challenging the prevailing narrative, Bond distinguishes herself from her media contemporaries, proving that there are still respected voices willing to confront the toxic rhetoric that has unfairly targeted the Duchess of Sussex.